The holiday season is upon us, and we have years of cooking delicious homemade macs that you might want to make for your families. Today, let's recap some of our favorites. In episodes 75 and 76, friend of the show Ashley Blom took control of Junt's Kitchen to make us a bacon and mushroom gnocchi and cheese with caramelized onions.
Right now I'm just putting layer upon layer of onions and sprinkling some salt in between each one. And this helps bring the water out of the onions. This is 2 onions worth, and it seems like a lot of onions. I don't really like onions, but when you caramelize them, they tend to shrink. So now we cover it and we wait. Pretty low heat at this point. We're gonna let the onions sweat. Some people will tell you when you're caramelizing onions to like set it and forget it, leave it alone. Every time I do that, it burns. Instead of noodles, we're using gnocchis.
Yeah, it actually makes a lot of sense because if you have a really thick, creamy sauce, it's gonna be a really great blend.
Is that the logic?
Mm-hmm.
That's what.
Also, gnocchi is delicious.
And you got some garlic you're doing too. Usually what I do, I have big, heavy French glasses, so I just crush them with that.
So you may wonder why I'm taking all this time to slice the bacon rather than just cooking it and then crumbling it. I actually prefer the bacon to be a little chewier in this recipe rather than crispy.
Yep.
If I wanted crispy bacon, I would bake it in the oven. Kind of helps it cook more evenly than doing it in the strips as well.
These are our nice, small, compact mushrooms.
The bacon's looking pretty cooked. We got
great.
little crispy edges, but for the most part it's chewy, which I like and I think works better in baking in general. Otherwise you get kind of that carbony flavor. So what I'm gonna do now is push the bacon to the edges of the pan where it's typically cooler so that it doesn't cook quite as quickly. And I'm gonna use the bacon grease to soften the mushrooms.
Ooh, that's wonderful.
I'm gonna kind of let it hang out here for a little bit, and then I'm gonna mix it all together so they get saturated in the back bacon fat. If there's extra, it goes really great in an omelet. As you can see, the mushrooms are nice and tender now, and we are going to bake the gnocchi for a little bit, so they might soften up a little bit more. So I'm making a roux right now. Occasionally when I make this, I'll actually brown the butter first. 3 tablespoons of flour, a roux paste. This is about 3 cloves of garlic going in right now.
She's using a tempered egg.
By tempering the egg, it makes it so it doesn't scramble. You just want it to thicken the sauce.
Cayenne pepper.
There we go. I like just a little bit of spice in it. Ideal texture of a gnocchi is like a little pillow. Get a little bit of bacon on every bite. Oh yeah, lots more breadcrumbs, please.
So you can put the cheese on top of the breadcrumbs.
Gives it a nice little toasty top. 350-degree oven. Let's say maybe 10 minutes.
Those breadcrumbs look pretty good.
Look at it.
It does look really good. Oh, the scent is lovely. I love the mushrooms and onions mingled together. Almost all the texture comes from the extra ingredients.
Yep.
And the bacon is delicious, by the way, perfectly cooked. The top actually seems nice.
Yeah, it gives a little bit of crunch.
See how the crust is more like a French fry rather than anything else?
Sometimes I'll throw a little bit of truffle oil into the breadcrumbs. That kind of enhances the mushroom flavor.
It was tremendous.
Thank you
this
so
is
much. You
wonderful.
You killed it.
We've had a lot of bad vegan macs, but when we went to the vegan mac cook-off, we got to try a homemade seitan mac that was every bit as cheesy as the real thing.
Frankie, we're at the Mac Daddy Festival in Worcester, Massachusetts. Vegan macaroni and cheeses.
This creamy one with the chicken tofu.
Very, very creamy. It's got kind of a sauce thing going too.
I've got to go with that spicy tofu chicken one. I went back to that 3 times, and every time I felt like I was eating a pure mac and cheese.
Yeah, so that had incredible creaminess. Like creaminess I have never seen
tasted like cheese.
in a vegan dish before.
I voted for number 6.
Number 6 is the one.
Did you do number 6?
Yeah. I use a rutabaga base. Add a little bit of data actually to kind of get that kind of fakey cheese.
I voted for number 6.
Nice.
We're on a 6.
Nice.
Oh, I'm blushing here, yeah. Mine was a buffalo seitan, campanile pasta with a rutabaga base, some little daya, little myokos, ranch on the top, homemade seitan.
That's the one we voted for. It really was the best one. Homemade seitan. Holy.
When John was sent sodium citrate, he made one of the gooeyest, garlickiest, extra sharp macs we've ever had.
This is Junt's weeknight
Macaroni and cheese. So I've got 11 grams of sodium citrate that's going to go into this mix. They put it into cheese in order to make the cheese melt, flow, and not break apart. It's an emulsifier. It's also the reason why those macs are sour, because it adds a little tiny bit of sourness. So we're not gonna bake this mac, it's all on the stove. I got my favorite orecchiette here. This is jarred minced garlic. A heaping spoonful into the butter container. This is Cabot pre-grated cheese.
Because you don't want to spend time grating cheese. It's very good.
Yeah. Got my garlic, butter kind of bubbling away there. I'm gonna add in my 11 grams of sodium citrate.
Here it goes.
So that's sharp cheddar, and this is a Mexican cheese blend. It is smoothing up very nicely.
That looks like some cheesy, sodium citrate-y
macaroni and cheese.
Perfectly blended. It's not stringy.
It's damn good. So that really good cheese that we had is preserved here.
Can you taste a little bit of garlic onion kind of flavor as well?
Yeah, it's really tasty.
Tis the season for giving, and we received a wonderful present when 2 fans visited to cook us their delicious homemade mac.
We have the special noodle. It's the Celentani. I usually get the cava potty, but I like it because it's spiral, but it's not the kind of flat spiral. Like, it'll hold its shape. Cream cheese, butter, and then flour milk. So we got the butter, the flour, and the milk.
Ooh, look at that.
It's just cheddar and then mozzarella, Italian seasoning. I like that.
Looks pretty awesome.
How's the mac?
It's really good.
How's the mac?
Good.
How's the mac?
Excellent.
For Halloween 2018, John made a pumpkin puree mac and just hit it out of the park.
I've got 8 ounces of mascarpone cheese, kind of like a sour cream, but a little toned down. We're gonna put some nutmeg in, and we got some paprika too. And we're gonna use a medium shell pasta today. Kerrygold butter here. We've got 3 tablespoons of it. Doesn't this look like it's out of the 70s?
It looks old.
I have a medium shallot here, 12 ounces of cream, slowly now. It doesn't have much of a flavor. It's a light cheese.
Yeah.
We're gonna use about 10 ounces of this can.
Making it orange, my man.
I've got a half teaspoon of garlic powder, half teaspoon of paprika, a half teaspoon of nutmeg, and a half teaspoon of mustard powder. A little bit of pepper in there too.
Looks pretty good, John.
You got a lot of noodles that don't have any cheese on. So I'm putting a little bit of the extra cheese on top here. 15 minutes at 400 degrees. We're just gonna brown the top. I like browned cheese.
Damn, actually looks pretty good. It's fantastic. It's mostly cheesy, and there's a little tiny pumpkin
Little
spice
hint of
in there.
pumpkin.
And it makes it kind of fun for the fall.
Yes.
Zach's queso tacaroni, which he initially called tacarito, and I think we changed it accidentally, is still one of my favorite things we've ever eaten on the show and super easy to make.
Queso tacarito, orecchiette pasta with seasoned taco beef.
It looks spectacular. I love that pasta.
It also looks sort of like a taco shell to me, so I wanted to kind of evoke that.
Great taco scent to it. I think it's excellent. It does make it very brilliantly creamy, but I do really love your mac.
Polling the group, Zach's Tacaroni got the most number of top votes.
Queso tacaroni. You bought us our seminal favorite, taco-roni.
Yeah. Sometimes we just want to have things again. This is an award-winning mac.
And I love tacaroni, let me just say. I love the cheesiness, I love the spiciness of the taco seasoning.
For Thanksgiving, we upgraded a cracker crumb top with layers of stuffing with surprising results.
You want like a very garlicky, oniony stuffing?
Yes, Cabot Fiery Jack. I think a little bit of extra spice will do nice. Habanero cheddar and Monterey Jack, which is the perfect mix for macaroni and cheese. I'm gonna put a layer of the stuffing down. I'm gonna drizzle it with some of the cheese sauce. Then a layer of the pasta and pasta and cheese.
A macaroni and cheese stuffing lasagna.
Pretty much. Celery, it's a critical part of stuffing. I've got my cup of onion here and my cup of celery. It's going in the butter. And I've got some garlic here. I got 4 pretty large cloves of garlic, better than bouillon. And normally if you're gonna make broth, you'd use bouillon cubes. And this is basically full bouillon that's been reduced down. Ready for some stuffing cube action, Nina? We've used that high quality bouillon. We've used garlic where it didn't originally call for garlic. I'm gonna add an egg. I'm gonna crack it right into the stuffing. I got some fresh diced parsley here. I'm gonna spread this over each stuffing layer.
He's getting the Fiery Jack in there.
About half of the Monterey Jack. Some salt. Put a little pepper in. Stir it up. So a little more parsley on top.
There he goes with the parsley again.
How about just a little bit? Set timer, 30 minutes. It looks pretty good. We want that crispiness of the stuffing.
Okay.
And these are just large breadcrumbs.
It is an excellent stuffing and a pretty good mac. The fiery Cabot adds an awful lot of spice.
Not too much of a kick that it's unpleasant.
The mac by itself is really yummy, and the stuffing by itself is really yummy.
I think they're compatible flavors.
You usually hate breadcrumbs. Why does this one get a pass? Is it because it's kind of
It's
moist?
because it's softer. It's not working against the mac. It's not drying it out. I think it's a super good stuffing.
Yep.
With some gravy, that would be great at Thanksgiving. I think it's a really good mac. And I think it's interesting, fun, creative to put them together.
For 3 separate holiday specials, we made Junt's patented home-style mac, which remains the best mac we've ever had. In 2015, he tried to incorporate Cheetos. In 2016, he perfected the recipe. And in 2017, I successfully made it without him. This is the king of the macs, and you've got to make it for your family.
This is a traditional macaroni and cheese in which we make a roux and then bake a bechamel sauce. These Cheetos are actually gonna take the place of breadcrumbs. You're gonna measure out 3 loosely cupped packs. We're gonna add a lot of milk to really make it so that when it's baking, not dry out so much. That's the key thing. I've got a pound of Colby Jack cheese, 8 ounces of Cabot Extra Sharp. We get the Colby Jack for the nice smooth texture. And this is really what gives you the strong flavor. For the topping, it's not just Cheetos, of course. We have Cheetos and melted butter.
It's a lot of cheese once it's grated.
We need some cayenne pepper today. and we also need some ground mustard. Nina, I'm gonna give you a little tiny whisk, and you just wanna coat those Cheetos with this butter. We have a 12-ounce can here of Carnation evaporated milk. We're not using any actual cream in this recipe, so we're adding some creaminess by using this evaporated milk. Zach, I'd like you to mince this shallot, if you would. A shallot is kind of halfway between garlic and an onion. Lumicani, I think, in Italian, which means small snail. We need 6 tablespoons of butter for this part, which brings our total for the recipe to 9 tablespoons. We gotta cook these noodles a little bit undercooked because they're actually gonna finish in the sauce in the oven. You're just gonna coat the inside lightly with cooking spray.
Okay.
And what this will do is this is really just to make it easier to clean up later. 6 tablespoons of flour,
6
Zach.
tablespoons.
We don't wanna cool the pan down too much, but I have to dry it out. When you're making a roux, you can't have water in it or it'll actually react wrong. I put a teaspoon and a half of ground mustard powder in there. And now I'm gonna put a half teaspoon of cayenne powder. This is just gonna give it a little bit of spice. Slowly add in our flour here. We're thickening up a little bit, which is just what you want. We need to let it cook for just a minute over this heat. Now we're transitioning from the roux to the bechamel sauce. See how it started off really thin, but as I've mixed it, it's now rapidly thickened up. We're not gonna cover this casserole dish because we actually want evaporation to occur. This is a lot of liquid for a pound of pasta. I'm a big fan of pepper. I like to use a lot. We have to actually melt the cheese in the liquid without any heat from the stove. If we use heat from the stove, the cheese is gonna separate, it's gonna get all oily, it's not gonna taste good. Just see those little bubbles coming up? And that means we're in pretty good shape. Put a handful in, and we're gonna just stir that in and watch it just disappear. Just add that right in.
Goodbye, cheese.
And I'm gonna have you pour about half of this in. Keep coming.
Oh, God.
Pull it back, pull it back. It's going inside those pipettes.
Yeah.
And that's actually taking up space in the pan. Spread that cheese topping equally over the whole top of this. The center of that oven, I'm gonna set our kitchen timer for 20 minutes. Look at that top bubbling away. That is actually ready to go. Let's get some bowls here.
Oh my. Oh my.
It's very good.
It's very creamy.
It tastes to me a lot like it did before it went in the oven, plus Cheetos are on it.
The Cheetos don't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Nope, they don't do anything for me either. Probably could have done without it completely. Maybe put a cheese finish on top and just had it go brown. We're gonna make a homestyle mac again this year. There is not a single bread crumb or Cheeto in this mac. Instead of the pipettes that we did last year, we're gonna give this pasta a try. Bigger, much meatier pasta. You're gonna get a lot more cheese stuck in it. We're changing up the cheese composition a little bit. This year, we're still gonna have some Monterey Jack for the meltability, but more sharp cheddar to give it a stronger, cheesier, sharper flavor. We're also going to do away completely with the Cheeto topping. It was a bad idea. That's another change. A full-fledged yellow onion rather than a shallot this year. We're adding a little bit of mustard powder this year. It's a very common ingredient in mac and cheese.
It is.
We haven't done it before. Other thing we're gonna do is we're gonna use tempered eggs. We're gonna just bake it until that cheese gets brown and a little bit crispy. Not nearly as long as we did last year, because I think that long finishes in the oven.
It's that Irish butter, is it?
Yes, it is. Last year what I did is I actually cooked the roux. I put the onions in directly, and that's the wrong thing to do because you're gonna spoil the roux with water, which is exactly what you don't wanna do at that stage. Now I'm gonna add 32 ounces of heavy cream. Adding the tempered egg right now. It's in there. Onion.
Okay, yeah, wow, look how quickly that thickened when you add the egg.
You want me to whisk that in?
Yes, please. All right, let's pause there. I'm gonna stir a little. It's only gonna be in about 10, 15 minutes. The egg adds richness. You can taste the richness added by the egg.
Look at that, mac and cheese.
It's only been in about 10 minutes at 375, and then I've switched it to broil to finish the top. So that cheese has created just a little bit of brown crust on top. If we actually let it sit, it would crust up a little. Hopefully pull a little heat into the mac to make it a little hotter.
It's very cheesy. Yeah, it worked out.
Oh, that's really good.
Have you ever had a better mac?
I mean, this is restaurant good.
I ought to be able to do this. All the ingredients are laid out for me, and I have the recipe on my phone.
Yes.
100 episodes! Woo!
Yeah! Looks beautiful.
Food! A delicious macaroni and cheese.
Oh, that mac looks good, Frankie.
Thank you,
Looks
John.
good. This is just lovely.
This is what John's always wanted.
All right, I'm gonna try the mac here.
Here we go.
Delicious. I quite like it, Frankie. I think you did a fine job. All of these recipes are gonna be on, of course, the website, right? And I gotta say, Frankie, this mac did have the best top that we've had on a oven-baked mac.
Hark, what's the noise?
From north.
Everybody put a napkin on your head.
I'll be knitting with forks and rocking.